A storm of dust rolls across the endless Dakar desert as the sun punches through the horizon like a blazing warning flare. Nobody watching this moment realizes they're about to witness one of the boldest challenges ever attempted in motorsport history. The cameras track a lone electric vehicle gliding across the dunes with a confidence that seems impossible for anything powered by a battery. And yet, this isn't just any electric vehicle. This is the African-designed, African-engineered, fully self-charging EV created under the vision of Maxwell Chikumbutso, and today it faces its most dangerous test. A ruthless U.S. rally driver, seasoned, fearless, and known for taming Dakar's cruelty, is waiting to destroy any myth surrounding this so-called miracle machine. But this challenge isn't about pride. It isn't about nationality. It isn't even about racing. This is about the future of transportation, the future of off-road endurance, and the future of how we think about energy itself. Forget everything you think you know about electric cars. Forget charging stations, long cables, range anxiety, and battery life. Because this machine claims it can power itself, regenerate its own energy, and run through the Dakar Rally without stopping at a single charging point. If true, this is the biggest disruption the automotive world has ever seen, and the U.S. driver stepping into this arena knows it. He's coming not just to win the race, but to crush the claim. He's betting everything on the belief that nature, physics, and harsh reality will expose the EV for what he suspects it is, a technological dream that can't survive the real world. The Dakar Rally doesn't care about dreams. It crushes them. It burns engines. It destroys suspensions. It exposes weaknesses. And it punishes overconfidence like no other race on Earth. But today, this self-charging EV is rolling onto the starting line like a warrior ready to test fate. The crowd murmurs, unsure whether to cheer or be afraid of what this moment represents. The U.S. driver glances across the start line at his silent African challenger, his jaw set, his eyes cold, his expression declaring one thing: let's see what you can really do. The sun rises higher, engines rumble. The race marshal raises the flag, and history prepares to take its first breath. Before we get swept into the brutal trenches of the Dakar's first stage, we need to understand what exactly is at stake and what makes this EV different from anything the automotive world has ever dared to build. Because this machine, born from innovation in a place where infrastructure challenges inspired radical engineering, claims it can generate power as it moves. No engine roar, no fossil fuel, no external charging, just motion converting into energy through a breakthrough system that has sparked global debate, curiosity, and skepticism. The EV's power module isn't a traditional battery system that wears down across the course. Instead, it uses a dynamic regeneration mechanism that captures energy from motion, vibration, electromagnetic fields, and internal system cycling. As bizarre as it sounds, as unlikely as experts said it would be, the machine is here. Not in a lab, not in a garage, but at the Dakar Rally, the most punishing race on Earth. Why here? Because Africa needed a solution to one of the biggest barriers to EV adoption: the absolute lack of reliable, widespread charging infrastructure across thousands of kilometers. In rural regions, in deserts, in off-grid areas, charging stations simply don't exist. You cannot drive long-range EVs where there is no power grid. So instead of building charging stations, innovators attempted something far more radical: an EV that could charge itself. Maxwell Chikumbutso's design grew from this need, this reality, and this bold refusal to accept limitations. And today, that vision is rolling on Dakar sand, facing the most unforgiving test imaginable. The U.S. driver standing in opposition has his own story. He's a veteran of the Dakar. He's crashed, rebuilt, restarted, lost, and dominated. He comes from the school of American off-road culture where engineering precision meets reckless bravery. He doesn't believe in miracles. He believes in torque, grit, and experience. When he heard about a self-powered EV, he laughed. When he learned this EV would challenge him, he accepted instantly. For him, this isn't just a race, it's a statement. It's a chance to show that machines obey laws, not dreams. But the African team sees things differently. For them, this is history. This is a chance to prove that innovation doesn't need permission from global superpowers. Great ideas can come from anywhere, and Africa is done waiting. As both vehicles prepare for the first day, teams scramble under tents, checking every bolt, every line of code, every cooling pipe, every reinforcement plate that might help them survive what's coming. The U.S. team tests tire pressure sensors, shock absorbers, and navigation systems. They know exactly what Dakar will throw at them. The African team, meanwhile, focuses on vibration-resistant mounts, electromagnetic stabilizers, and temperature regulation for the power unit. If anything overheats, everything ends. If any regenerative module fails, the EV becomes powerless. But the team believes. They've tested it in heat, they've tested it on rock, they've tested it in mud, yet nobody has tested this system across thousands of kilometers of Dakar brutality. Day 1 begins with a roar across the dunes. The U.S. driver launches forward like he's been fired from a cannon, kicking up a massive plume of sand. The self-charging EV takes off silently, almost eerily, gliding forward with a precision that makes spectators gasp. At first, the U.S. driver takes an easy lead. He knows this terrain. He knows where the sand is soft, where the drop-offs hide, and where the dunes slope deceptively. But something unexpected happens. The EV begins to close the gap. Not with speed, with consistency. Where fuel-powered vehicles must modulate to avoid overheating and conserve fuel, the EV maintains a steady, relentless pace. Its regenerative system loves the vibration of the dunes. It drinks the motion. It turns the desert's chaos into energy. By the end of day 1, both vehicles arrive at the checkpoint almost simultaneously. The U.S. driver wipes sweat from his forehead, shaking his head. "Not bad," he mutters. Day 2 brings hell. A sandstorm rolls over the race route without warning. Visibility drops. Engines choke. GPS becomes unreliable. The U.S. driver fights his wheel as the storm hammers his windshield. The African EV pushes through with surprising stability. Its low noise and low vibration allow it to move carefully without burning unnecessary energy. By the end of day 2, the U.S. driver is frustrated. The EV is calm. Day 3 brings rock fields sharp enough to slice tires. The U.S. driver suffers a puncture. He leaps out with his crew to repair the damage. Minutes matter. The EV glides across the rocks with reinforced composite wheels designed specifically for regeneration stability. The African team planned for this. By the time the U.S. driver is back on the road, the EV has gained a sizable lead. Day 4 brings the steep mountain climbs, Dakar's silent killers. Heat rises, motors overexert, batteries drain. This is where everyone expected the EV to die. But instead, something incredible happens. The regenerative system thrives on the elevation changes. It charges more on every descent. It stabilizes on every climb. The U.S. driver pushes his engine to keep up. The EV simply flows. Day 5 brings mechanical failures, not for the EV, but for the U.S. team. A suspension arm bends under extreme pressure, forcing the team to stop and repair. They work fast, they work brutally, but the minutes are slipping away. As the EV passes them, silent and steady, the U.S. driver stares at it with disbelief. "This thing just doesn't stop," he mutters. Day 6 brings navigational chaos. Dust clouds blind every driver. Marker flags disappear. Mistakes are everywhere. For the first time, the EV struggles. Its sensors misread a series of dunes. It veers slightly off course. The U.S. driver spots the mistake and seizes the advantage. He pushes hard. He races like a man possessed, and he overtakes the EV with a triumphant roar. Day 7 becomes the turning point of the entire rally. The mid-race mayhem, as the commentators call it, erupts when a hidden ditch sends vehicles airborne. The U.S. driver hits it hard. He lands with a brutal metal crunch. His front axle takes a hit. He powers on, but something is wrong. Steering is tight. Suspension is stiff. Every bump is agony. The EV approaches the same ditch carefully. Its adaptive sensors detect the void. It navigates safely. No risks. The African team radios in, "Keep pace." The EV continues forward. Desert wind howls. The sun burns. The U.S. driver fights pain, fear, and frustration, refusing to give up. As both vehicles push into the final stages, tension electrifies the air. Spectators around the world tune in. Commentators argue. Experts debate. Some call the EV a miracle. Some call it luck. Some call it a fluke that will fail at the finish line. But nothing can stop the momentum of the race now. With 50 kilometers left, both vehicles are neck and neck. Dust clouds explode behind him. The U.S. driver clenches his teeth, wrestling the wheel with a damaged front end. The EV glides but must conserve heat in its regeneration modules. Both teams scream instructions across the radio. Both drivers push their limits. Both machines battle the terrain like warriors refusing to fall. The final dunes rise ahead, the last gatekeeper to Dakar's finish line. The U.S. driver launches his vehicle up the slope, engine screaming. The EV climbs with quiet determination. Gravity crushes them. Sand shifts beneath them. The air trembles with adrenaline. And then, the final ridge. The last crest. The descent toward the finish line. The EV gains a slight lead. The U.S. driver pushes his throttle to the floor. His engine roars like a wounded beast. Spectators rise to their feet. The finish banner flutters, and in a moment, that will be replayed 1,000,000 times. The self-charging EV crosses first. Silence follows, then thunderous applause. The African team erupts in tears, cheers, and disbelief. The U.S. driver stops beside them, pulls off his helmet, and stares at the EV for a long moment. Finally, he nods. "That thing," he says. "It's the future." Reporters swarm him. He waves them off. "No excuses," he says. "I gave everything. It gave everything. And it won." The post-race analysis ignites global conversation. Some praise the technology, some question it, some demand testing and validation. But nobody can deny what happened. The EV survived Dakar. The EV didn't just survive, it excelled. It proved that when innovation meets necessity, when vision meets courage, when engineering challenges the status quo, breakthroughs happen. Africa has entered the global EV stage not as a follower, but as a leader. And now the world wants to know what comes next. Because if a self-charging EV can conquer Dakar, where else can it go? Remote villages, mining operations, off-grid transportation networks, military logistics, global shipping. The possibilities are infinite. And this race was only the beginning. As we close this chapter, remember this moment. Remember the dust. Remember the roar. Remember the silence of a machine that refused to stop. And remember that innovation doesn't care where you come from. It cares where you're going. If you want to follow every breakthrough, every new test, and every daring step toward a cleaner, bolder future, make sure you subscribe for the journey ahead. Because the next revolution has just begun.